bringing the knowledge.
Episode 112 of Chet and John's reassuringly finite gaming playlist. My name's John Denton. With me, as always, Chet Roivas.
Hello.
So this week, as there are no games out, it's going to be a shorter episode, I'm afraid. So it's going to be two top 5 lists as opposed to the usual 2 top 10s. Everything else is the same. Games we've been playing the least at the beginning, games we've been playing the most at the end. So let's start it off with Chet's number 5.
Okay, my number 5 is a game called Soul Brother. It's a Flash game, browser-based. I played it on a Mac. It's also obviously available on PC. I assume you played this as well?
I also played it on a Macintosh computer, and it is also my number 5.
Okay, fair play. Okay, this is a game by Jasper Byrne, who's probably still best known for making Lone Survivor and also some of the music from Hotline Miami. This game can be found on the Adult Swim website. And yeah, like I said, it's a browser-based Flash game, and it's about as good as any browser-based Flash games I think I've played. It's a platformer stroke puzzler, and it reminded me very much of Ian Campbell, Boot Disc Revolution, I should say, his game from last year, The Useful Dead. Both games involve solving puzzles by repeatedly committing suicide, although this is a lot more unruly. There's a sort of... The Useful Dead is like a regimented, almost schematic parade of ideas. It's like bang, 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 the end. And this is far less structured than that. It's a platformer, it's a puzzler, it's easy, it's hard, blah, blah, blah. So it's a bit more unkempt, but that's not a bad thing, especially for a game of this length. And the completely and utterly balmy music is just really outstanding. I love the music in this game. But yeah, the central conceit is that you kill characters and then immediately possess the soul of another character. So you move from a character who, say, can do a double jump, move to one that can fly, and then one who can fit down tiny, like a little hole in the ground, etc., to solve puzzles and then progress through the world. The puzzles are really clever without ever being obtuse, and the platforming often demands needlepoint precision, but it's never ever frustrating. And like The Useful Dead, it's over before it had, arguably way far before it ever has a chance of getting tiresome. And yeah, like I said, I think it's about as good as any game I've played on a browser. It's about 20-25 minutes long, and it's free. Just go and play it. It's on the Adult Swim website.
Yeah, completely agree with all of that. I liked it straight away. I liked the music, like you say, and I liked the art style. And then when I realised that it was about killing animals, it did bring to mind that game. Even I still haven't played that game, but I'd assumed it was in the same vein. And then when there's sort of 3 or 4 screens in, there's a bit where you have to kill your animal, then immediately possess the other one on the screen, sort of mid-movement, don't you? It's like that becomes sort of a central part of the puzzles through the game. But then I realised quite how much design had gone into it, as opposed to just this one idea that he'd tried out, and then it then evolves into a very, very clever and proper little video game. And that guy's obviously supremely talented and a tremendous musician as well.
Yeah. And yeah, it's easy, it's hard. I like the way they don't feel like spikes, the difficulty. Did you get to the room in the bottom, the very bottom, the red room with the fans?
I don't know if I did, no.
Oh, incredible. I mean, like, so difficult. And when I finally did it, I was like, shite, I've got to get all the way back now. It was just, I don't know, there's moments like that which were gratifying because the controls were so tight on, even though you were just using the arrow keys and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was pretty terrific.
Yeah, agreed. So yeah, Adult Swim website, Soul Brother. I guess if you just Googled Soul Brother Adult Swim, I'm sure you could find it. We'll tweet out the link as well, because it was tweeted to us by Jasper's brother, Nick. So thank you very much for that.
Indeed, yeah, I really enjoyed that. Okay, well, so it's my number 4 then, isn't it? It's my number 4 is Smash Hit on iOS.
Oh yeah.
You spoke about it last week. I'm sure it was originally a listener recommendation, and I played it on an iPad. It's excellent. I played it on an iPad, yeah, and it looks pretty stunning.
Yeah.
You're moving through a world in first person, and it's kind of very colourful, made out of glass and crystal. And the idea is to keep your stock of projectiles up. So you're throwing balls at glass pyramids, and when you hit them, you add 3 balls to your total. And yeah, you need to smash through obstacles, but you can't be wasteful. And also, for every 10 objects that you hit, it doubles the number of balls that you throw. I mean, there's no point in explaining it. It's very, very simple. You're just smashing stuff with balls. And it's got an absolutely tremendous sort of ambient soundtrack by a guy called Doug Holmquist. You can buy the soundtrack on iTunes, I think. It sounds like really early Aphex Twin, and I don't say that lightly. I thought the music was tremendous, truly. There's microtransactions in it, but it's just you can either pay for a premium version or you can't. I mean, that's the only option. And the premium version just allows you to. It sort of makes the game more forgiving because it allows you to restart from checkpoints rather than chapters or whatever the main level gates are called. Yeah, I love this. I really did. The physics are perfect. Visually, it kind of reminded me of a kind of Dayglow, slightly stripped back version of Rez. And it's free. A premium version is getting bought by me just because it's worth £1. I think it's about £1.80, £2 or something of anyone's cash. That's getting bought. And if you have an iPad, especially, it runs smooth as can be, and it looks absolutely banging. I mean, I loved this. I really did.
Yes, I love games that completely understand their host platform. Completely. I would like to see it on an iPad. Actually, my phone's quite big, so it did look good on there. But yeah, it does seem like it was destined for at least the iPad Mini.
Yeah. Oh, it looks so good on the iPad I've got. I mean, if it's free, it's on Android, iOS. Just download it, smash hit. I loved it. Loved it.
They're really satisfying as well when the glass smashes. Just the way they've got that nailed is cracking game. And by what are they called again, like mediocre games or something?
Games,
doing themselves a disservice there. Ulrich, my number 4 then is a PS Plus game that's on PlayStation Vita this month. It's Everybody's Golf on Vita. I don't know, it probably has a subtitle, but I've chosen to forget it. I think I hadn't played an Everybody's Golf game since the very first one, which may have been on the PS1, may not have been. I don't know anything, do I? I don't know anything about anything. And I remember that game being fun and very simple, and this is exactly the same. I haven't played a huge amount of it, I have to admit, but there was nothing about it that I didn't like, really. You know, that mechanic that's in there, the 3-tap golf mechanic that's been in there since the beginning of time, still works really well. It looks really nice and runs really smooth on Vita. And yeah, it's fun to play golf in a video game. It always has been and always will be. I'm sure it's more fun than actually playing golf. Or maybe not, I don't know. Who cares? Everybody's Golf on PlayStation Vita, cracking. I've been waiting to play this game. Everybody said it was like, of the launch games, it was an excellent launch game for Vita, but at the same time, I couldn't justify paying full price for a golf game. I was going, on my new shiny console, I wanted to play the Wipeout and Uncharted and things like that. So I've been waiting for it to either come down in price massively or inevitably appear on PS Plus, which is what's happened. And I can imagine it hanging around on my machine for a long time. I'm going to start investigating the online side of play because there's like an asynchronous online mode, which sounds very appealing. I'm not 100% sure how it works. I'd imagine you just play your round on a hole maybe, and then they play theirs and it links up. Bringing the knowledge. I've basically brought zero knowledge to this write-up of Everybody's Golf, so apologies there. But already had a few requests from people on Twitter, which is great, so I'll get some games cracking on that. I like it. I always have a slight problem with these Japanese games that have girls that look like they're about 6 years old in tiny miniskirts. It's something that's always turned my stomach. Always will do, but that's just me.
Do they look about 6?
Yeah, to me they do.
Okay, I don't know. I mean, I haven't played.
It's just an art style that's just in Japanese things. It's not something I'm going to get up in arms about, but I've always found it slightly creepy.
I do know what you mean, but I've never looked at those.
This isn't anywhere near as bad as some things, I must say. I mean, it's barely even worth mentioning, but. I do know what you mean. It is uneasy, but I mean, I never thought of them as modelled to look like children. I just thought they were sort of teenagers. Or they kind of are. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, let's have a game then, because I've downloaded it today. So we should definitely have a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it certainly made the thought of buying Mario Golf, as good as I'm sure that is, kind of redundant for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're very similar. I'm looking forward to seeing what the differences are.
Isn't this game made by the people that make Mario Golf, or the original? Yeah, there you go.
And they made all the Everybody's Golf and all the Mario Golf.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Since they've just made every golf game almost, apart from Tiger Woods.
Does Tiger Woods exist anymore? Was there a Tiger Woods this year?
There was a Tiger Woods last year. Was there a Tiger Woods this year?
I don't know if there was.
No, there wasn't this year. No.
But Tiger Woods is like everyone hates Tiger Woods now, don't they?
Yeah, what happened? Has he had another affair or something?
I don't know. He had an affair, and then everybody hated him. But it's like, who cares? He's good at golf. Isn't that the point? Who cares? I don't know. I don't care. That doesn't make him any worse or better at golf. I don't even care about Tiger Woods. I'm retiring from this conversation.
or golf. Neither do I. I don't know why I asked. Okay, well let's have a game anyway. Okay, all right. Well, my number 3 is a game called Cytus Lambda on the Lambda.
Yeah.
Cytus Lambda on the PlayStation Vita. It's actually a PlayStation mobile game, and it's a port of an iOS game called just Cytus. The PlayStation mobile version has got extra content, I think, an extra 10 songs that are exclusive. But other than that, even through the menus, it keeps calling it Cytus, so it's more or less a straight port. As is traditional, I don't know how I came across this. I suspect a listener recommended it at some point, but it's basically free, and you can pay extra to buy extra songs. Yeah, and it's a Bimani rhythm action game. It's the way it works is that a thick black line bounces from the top of the screen to the bottom, and little circles emerge and then slowly enlarge in the background, and you tap them as the line passes over them. The problem that I had at first, not so much as it went on, but it was a problem. It wasn't so bad the longer I played it, but it was still a problem. Was that you can't tell which pass you're meant to use. So a circle can open up and you can tap it as the line passes through it going up, but you were meant to wait and tap it as the line passes through it going down, because some of the songs are so fast and busy, you don't have the time to stop and say, oh, that needs to be a bit bigger. More fundamentally than that, though, there's a real disconnect between your actions and the music. You don't ever feel like you're building songs, because there's like Dragon Force style guitar solos, like, and you tap, 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 and there's this really tinny hi-hat noise every time you tap the screen, which just knocks all the rhythm out of whack, even if you're getting the taps bang on. I don't know, that very, very weird rhythm action game. Also, there's one move that involves you dragging your 2 thumbs down the screen along the line. So my thumbs are quite big, and whenever I had to do that, I simply couldn't see what was next. My hands were masking the rest of the screen. So that was a problem just with regards to how the Vita's shaped, I guess. I mean, I suppose it would work better on iOS because you... would it? Maybe... Oh, no, I don't think it would. To be honest, that's just the fact that my hands are massive. But anyway, the music is a cross between really fast, jaunty electro, kind of like freeze pop, but nowhere near as good. And then there's strange, slightly gothic pop music that's slow and not particularly inviting. And then there's the obligatory weird, nightmarish kids TV intro, just the weirdest music you've ever heard in your life. I don't think it works brilliantly well as an action game, because the sound of that hi-hat, you can't take it off, and the note charting is not brilliant. You never felt like you were making music. The load times are quite severe as well. It's another good display of the Vita's display, because the touch controls do work great on that screen. It's just... Yeah, just kind of... once I got to the 7th or 8th song, or however many you get in the free trial, and they're like, do you want to buy the next? I was just like, no, it's really a second-tier rhythm action game, I think.
That's a shame. It sounded promising when you first started talking about it. I hadn't heard of that at all.
Yeah, I thought... I mean, I'm a sucker for this genre anyway, but this... I just think they get some of the most fundamental things very wrong.
And, yeah, that's enough to screw up any game in that genre. For sure.
True that.
Talking of rhythm action, I mentioned it to you very briefly before the podcast. Yeah, the new Harmonix game has literally, as we're recording, just been launched on iOS. It's called Record Run, and it is by their account, a endless runner where it plays along to your music made by Harmonix on iOS. I don't know if it's good or not, but if I had an iPhone, I'd already have it. So yeah, obviously it's going to be pretty good, right? It's Harmonix.
Yeah, that's almost certainly going to be the next number one that I speak about, if it's even half as good as it sounds. Also, if you happen to be like a multi-millionaire with a lot of cash burning a hole in your pocket, go and invest in Amplitude on Kickstarter. It's, for some reason, they started it less than the maximum number of days, and they've asked for $750,000, and they're not going to do it. It's crawling up. It's not even at this rate. It's not even going to get. There's 15 days left. They're not even going to get to $200,000, I don't think. And that game has to exist. I'm just It's not going to.
Like you said to me today, I'd much rather have never known about it.
Yeah.
Than have it teased and then it's not even close. So I'd not normally talk about a Kickstarter, but we know Amplitude's good, so I don't feel too bad about that one. But a crushing disappointment. So inevitably, unless something crazy happens.
I really hope something crazy. The annoying thing is that it clearly hasn't stoked enough interest for them to go and pitch it to a publisher. The interest isn't there, so it's just that. All that work they've done, they've designed loads of shit. Oh man, I stand by what I said. I wish I never knew that they were even attempting to resurrect this without knowing that they had the backing first. Fuck, I'm annoyed. Yeah. But anyway, if you're a millionaire, go and make me happy and go and give some money to them.
Yeah. God, that's the one. I wouldn't mind playing that shit. So yes. Playing that. Okay. Number 3, kind of shit. So I apologise. It's more FIFA on Xbox One. Had another bit of a change of heart about it. Playing more co-op seasons mode. I'm sorry to keep talking about FIFA, but it's had some really good games. Switch teams, stopped playing as Real Madrid, and concentrated on defending a bit more. And found it far more enjoyable than I had done previously. I still think there are some fundamental issues with the game that will never be fixed, and hopefully wouldn't. I don't know what they're going to do for FIFA 15 now, because the high through ball thing. We've talked about it so much on this podcast. I can imagine people banging their heads against the tables listening to this. But I was watching a real football match the other day, and like the difficulty to play a high through ball from 35 yards out to drop it just behind the defence, exactly where a striker needs it. It's an incredibly difficult thing to do, and you watch real football matches and people try it all the time and very, very, very rarely hit it. And the players that can do it a lot are worth millions and millions and millions of pounds. And any old fucker can do it in this game from any part on the pitch. And if you kind of mutually agree with the person you're playing with to not do it too much, and if you play like a deep defence, you can stop it. But it just becomes it's not really like football. It's this back and forth basketball match where teams kind of trade high through balls. And I'm not worried, because it doesn't really bother me, but what are they going to be able to fix this? It's such a fundamental part of the way the flow of the game is now in this engine that they're going to have to. If they just nerf high through balls, that's just going to be annoying as fuck, because that is a tactic that should be viable in the right circumstance. So,
but it is always viable. That's the problem.
Yeah, exactly. So they've kind of backed themselves into a corner here, I think. Talking of corners, but So apologies to talk about FIFA again. I promise I won't talk about it next week. But it's still enjoyable. We'll still be there next year. But I think football needs a bit of a shake-up, really. Digital football, not for EA's point of view. They'll be fine, but. Yeah, Provo is broken. FIFA's kind of a bit all over the place. So, let's see what happens next year.
Or indeed this year.
Next FIFA year.
When does the FIFA year begin?
It comes out sort of beginning of October, doesn't it? Just sort of a month after the season starts, end of September, beginning of October.
All right, I knew this. I was just saying, this year.
Yeah, it is this year.
Those are old hat games.
They are, sorry.
Okay, all right. Well, look, my number 2 is a game called Shutshimi. It's spelt Shutshimi, but it's pronounced Shutshimi. It's an Xbox Live indie game. It's also on PC, Linux, and apparently a Mac version is on the way. It's made by a company or a development team called Moon Deity Games, a small team. I think this is their first game. The game is you play as a very affable-looking orange fish with ludicrously ripped human arms that wield machine guns, and you can swim through the ocean. Is it the ocean? I don't know. It looks like it's the space or the sky, and you're shooting sharks and squid and pelicans, because why the hell not? Each level lasts around 10 to 15 seconds and no more, and in between every single level you're presented with a shop menu that contains 3 items, but the shop is only ever on screen for 8 or 9 seconds. It counts down. As soon as it comes up, it's counting down. So and the explanation of what the items are is fairly long. So at first, some words are capitalised. So you can scroll over the items and you'll see something capitalised like enhanced tail fin, and you figure out that means that it will make you faster. So you select that, and then that stops happening, and nothing is capitalized. So in those 8 or 9 seconds, you've got to read what the power-ups are, and the text slowly goes from suggestive to completely unrelated to complete and utter gibberish, so that you're just taking punts on items, because honestly they fill up with absolute nonsense. So you're just making a gamble on what item you're getting. Some of the items make you large, some of them give you new weapons or a fishbowl shield. Some cause the level to have literally no enemies in it, so you just sit there waiting for the level to end. Some trigger a thunderstorm, and then there's this party time mode where this sort of 8-bit firework display goes on in the background and you can't see what the hell's going on. I'm also pretty sure, though, I'm not 100% sure. Actually, I'm 99% sure that those items are just completely randomised. So if you keep seeing an item and you think, okay, I'll remember that for next time. I will remember that's a machine gun or whatever. For example, I thought I was picking a machine gun on a really far-on wave through the game, and then it was party time, and it completely screwed me over. The game is unbelievably difficult, and things randomly stack. Those items randomly stack, so you can get slowed down by an item, and then you can have an item that puts giant sunglasses blocking your view, and then you can have a thunderstorm on top of all that, so you can't see anything, and it's just completely and utterly mental. This is not meant to be played for a prolonged amount of time. I played it for well over an hour, and I felt kind of sick at the end of it, because it's just like, pick an upgrade, you're a gentle fish and a scholar, here's a top hat, it's just, and after a while you're just like, this game's going to make me throw up. It is not a great shooter by any stretch of the imagination, but I think because it's so hard and it's over so quickly, it's an ideal kind of deal breaker. Like that X-Blig port of Flappy Bird, if you're in a room with people and no one wants to go to the shop to buy beer, you can play this and whoever gets the highest score goes, because it's over so quick. It's 69p or $1. It's fun enough, and there are really a good few laughs in it, so I wouldn't sit down and binge on it, because you'll probably completely lose your mind. But for a game at that price, it does about enough to justify itself. It's recommended is the wrong word, but I liked it.
What was it called again?
Shutshimi.
Oh, like sashimi? Is that the play on that?
Yeah. But it's S-H-U-T shimi. Yeah, so it's written Shutshimi, but it's Shutshimi. I mean, it's mental. It's like, I really did start to sort of sway with unease by the end of it.
I think I need to see that. It sounds, in my mind, it's kind of similar to Super Mega Wagon Adventure, or whatever that game is called, which is amazing, but it's probably nowhere near as good. But
I don't. It almost certainly isn't as good as that. But download the trial. It's on PC as well. I'm sure the trial is also on PC. But if you have an Xbox 360, have a look at it just to try and see what the fuck is going on.
I will. I'll check that out, because my 360 is plugged in at the moment, for the reason being the game that I have at number 2, which is actually WWE 2K14 of all things. Now, anyone who knows me in real life knows that I used to love wrestling as a kid, as everyone did, and then again as like a younger adult. Kind of not really watched it for the last 10 years or so, but for some reason I decided to watch WrestleMania last month, and ever since then I've been watching it again. It's quite good fun, so I thought that I'd dig out my copy of 2K14 and have a go. It's still not very good. It has these amazing fundamental problems that were in the very first SmackDown game on the PS1, which came out, I believe, in 2000, so that's quite a good effort that they've managed to keep some of the same animations and same glitches that have been in there for that long. But it's fun. The reversal system's good. The matches are back and forth. It's still not a patch in terms of capturing the drama of what is obviously a pretend sport, but extremely dramatic sport, because that's the point of it. As games like WCW, NWO Revenge, and WrestleMania on the N64, they'll never. I'd be amazed if they were ever bettered, because it's just not going to happen, quite frankly. But good fun, and it'd be kind of interesting to see now that this license is with 2K properly, and they're drafting in the guys who make the NBA 2K to help out with next year's game, to see if they can take it to the next level. I don't know how much money it's going to be all in terms of how much money it's worth for them to invest in something. Is it even going to make any difference to how much it sells? Is it just a baseline for those games that we're always going to sell the same amount to like young kids and fucking losers like me? But the other reason I wanted to bring it up is a listener actually asked today, I believe, on Twitter, what we thought about a couple of articles that were written. In fact, just one article that was written about the thing that happened at the EVE Fan Fest, where UFC fighter Gunnar Nelson took on 10 of CCP's developers in a grappling match, so one after another, like a grappling gauntlet. Tremendous idea, amazing. The Icelandic people are amazing. And an article was put on Kotaku about this, kind of in the vein of something you might read on Vice, but just not anywhere near as interesting or well written. And I guess the reason that I was asked, or we were asked about that article, is because it kind of likens grappling. I know I was talking about pro wrestling here, but obviously, actual real fighting and jiu-jitsu is obviously a huge part of my life. But it kind of refers to all that stuff as homoerotic, and a lot of people got upset about that. I say a lot of people, some people got upset about that. It doesn't upset me at all. It's kind of is, really, quite frankly. But, it's just kind of it's something that two men fighting and grappling has been labelled since forever, and anybody who gets upset by that's just a bit too soft. Don't worry about it. It doesn't really matter if people don't understand it. What I did take slight umbrage with the article is that it basically painted the whole scenario and whole circumstances extremely male, which it was. It was a room full of men. It was men grappling, and but it also took an extremely condescending tone about that, as if something that was sort of defiantly male was wrong, and wrong's not the right word, but it was just sort of daft and should be looked down upon, and was not very inclusive to women and stuff. And I don't think that's the case at all. I wasn't there, so I can't say what it was or wasn't like, but certainly in my experience in that world, it's incredibly inclusive to women for starters, and it's one of the most egalitarian sports around. The article was it was pretty off base, to be honest, and I just thought the stunt itself was fantastic from my point of view, and I guess I just felt like I needed to defend that world a little bit. Call it whatever you want, misunderstand it, understand it, doesn't really matter, but I think as long as people do understand that world is full of some of the calmest, friendliest, most laid-back and rational people you could ever come across, and articles like that are the very opposite of it. So, I only brought all that stuff up that's not specifically game-related because we were asked, but there you go. And it ties into wrestling because wrestling's men in pants, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I didn't. I read the opening of that article and then I clicked it off. I don't think there's. I just knew I wasn't interested in reading it. There's a real trend at the moment. I mean, it's such a trend whereby you have to be a fish out of water covering something, and all of that stuff is at the expense of enthusiast reporting. So, if I wanted to know about that situation, I can't. Was there anything actually written about it? I don't care about it.
Some slightly misinformed. I mean, I didn't know. To be fair, I didn't read the rest of the website's coverage of the EVE Fan Fest, so it was kind of an all-encompassing article. It talked about other stuff, but it labelled the whole world as kind of sexist, but because it's very male. But something can be very male and be not sexist at all. There's nothing. Some things are just male, some things are female. What I got upset about was I completely agree with what you're saying, by the way, about the whole fish out of water coverage. And I learned nothing about the Fan Fest apart from this like PR stunt, which I already knew about anyway. But if the same article had been written about something overtly female or traditionally, typically female, whatever that might be, from the point of view of a man being that condescending, it would be savaged. People would have a fucking field day with it. And as it is, it just, to me, came across as just sort of unnecessarily snarky and taking offence at something that I'm sure wasn't actually worth being offended about. But then again, that seems to be what shifts numbers these days, and probably always has.
Yeah. I didn't read the article, so I can't diss it or anything. And I like the writer who wrote it. But when I start reading articles these days, they always start it's so prevalent. I don't know whether is it the influence of Vice.
I think Vice has a lot to do with it. It might be. that's an observation, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any problem. I mean, I can't comment on the content of that piece because I didn't read the whole thing. But sending someone there to Shrug is not as valuable as sending someone there to actually cover it. I don't know. That thing. That's a trend that I've already grown a little bit tired of. But like I said, maybe I'll read the article at some point. I started. I just thought I've already read 2 articles like this today, and that's something that bores me. I have to be honest.
Especially in a world where things are so easy to research.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like
all you have to do is type in Gunnar Nilsson into Google, and you've got pages, videos, interviews. Take 5 minutes to find out who he is.
Have a take on it by all means, but have a take on something rather than your own ignorance of it. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to diss the article because, like I said, I did not read it, but that kind of journalism is very, very frustrating to me at the moment. But anyway, WWE, is it?
WWE is fine if you like wrestling and it's fucking £5, then why not? But it's not very good. It's been broken since the very first game many, many, many years ago.
So they've broken their because that was on an annual cycle until this is the first one that's broken it, isn't it?
No, it's still annual. Yeah,
but they normally come out is this not out until the end of the year again?
It'll be out. 2K15 will be out at the end of this year.
2K15?
Yeah, WWE 2. This was the first one with 2K games because it was always with THQ, wasn't it?
Of course.
So 2K took the license, but the game had basically already been made, so they just packaged it up and put it out for 2K14. This came out in November last year.
Right.
And then for 2K15, which is out at the end of this year, although I don't think it's been formally announced, but is coming. They brought in Vicarious Visions to help with the Japanese lot over at Ukes, the poor fuckers who sleep under the desks, and they literally do that, to help out and hopefully bring some of that NBA 2K shine to the game, which could be interesting. Great sport. I know it's not real sport, but great sports games have the capacity to bring in people that have no interest in the sport to enjoy them. Hence, everybody's golf.
Indeed, yeah. Okay, all right. Well, that's fair enough. Vicarious Visions, of all the studios over the years, to think that they were a weird ragtag bunch who made like Tony Hawk's games, and then they started doing the Guitar Heroes and stuff.
I might have got their name wrong. It might be Visual Concepts. Let me just quickly check. I'm a bit tired.
Visual Concepts.
The guys who make NBA 2K have a wank name.
Yeah, that is quite a lousy.
Yeah, it is Visual Concepts. Sorry. Yeah, Vicarious Vision are that Activision team.
Yeah, who just seem to. They create good stuff because they have been sort of tied to franchises and they've made really good games. But are they still going? They're probably not going.
I think they just make Skylanders stuff now. If they are still going.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, a lot of those teams just kind of sit on Skylanders stuff.
Okay. Well, at least they're still going. Good for them.
Or they might not be, as always.
Yes. Congratulations, guys. Well done. We hope. Okay, all right. Well, my number one is a game called Titan Attacks on the PlayStation 4. It's a cross-buy. Is this the first game to be cross-buy between PS3, PS4, and Vita?
I don't know. I don't know anything this week.
Likewise, but anyway, this is the first game I've owned where it's been available across those 3 platforms. It's a cross between Space Invaders and Heavy Weapon, the Xbox Live Arcade game. A fantastically underrated game. A game that I think everyone kind of took for granted and appreciated it. But when I think back, I was like, wow, that really was actually a very, very fine game. And there are similarities because in this, the weapons stack similarly, so you build your ship in a similar sort of way. Like a lot of shooters, it's about managing your upgrades. So there's a very simple option screen between rounds, and you can pay to build your shields up, add to the power of your guns, more bullets on screen at once, smart bombs, additional turrets, blah, 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 etc., etc. But the bombs and the shields are perishable, so every time you use them, you have to pay again to stack them back up. And paying for those 2 things is a constant. But, whereas once you've added another gun to your ship, for example, that's there for good. But you're constantly going to be down money if you keep losing health. Or shield, sorry. It's quite a neat system because if you've been saving up for a turret or a higher rate of fire for your ship, and then you're in a situation where you've almost made that amount of money, but you have 1 bar of health left, you have to shell out and then sort of, wait, essentially. It's not a bad system. But like all decent shooters, getting far isn't really where the fun is, because the fun is maintaining the multiplier, which dies as soon as you get hit. I mean, you can stat up your shield all the way to the top if you like. If you get hit one time, you won't die, but the multiplier is done, and you want to try and keep that going, obviously. It's Space Invaders, though. That's basically what it is. I mean, I really like the music. It's this kind of moody, proggy electro. But it's not an exciting game, really. I think exciting is one of the last things I'd say about it. I mean, the bosses especially are terribly underwhelming. They're just bullet sponges, and there isn't much variety, although you wouldn't necessarily expect variety from a game that's basically a redux of Space Invaders. So I suppose that shouldn't be a complaint about it. But it's solid, inessential. I played through it in about 2 hours.
Sorry.
That's all right. It's solid. It's inessential. I played through it in about 2 hours. If you want a shooter, there are a few I could definitely recommend instead of this. I mean, if you're looking to get something on Vita, obviously Velocity Ultra is, there's no comparison. But otherwise, if you like the look of it, I don't think you'd be wasting your money on it. I don't know if I haven't seen what the price is on PSN. I know it's £7 or so on Steam, and I don't know. For me, this is stupid. But once a game like this bypasses that invisible barrier of £5, it moves away from impulse buy territory. So hopefully it's a couple of quid less on PSN. It's solid. But if this blows your mind, you need to educate yourself, because there are many, many far superior shooters that I could put in front of you right now. But it's okay. It's not bad.
Yeah, I've been meaning to play that myself, actually, and I'm sure I'll have it played for next week's podcast.
Play it. Maybe. I mean,
it might be like Resogun, and I love it, and you didn't like it, so who knows?
It is literally Space Invaders.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't know what kind of person you'd have to be to get genuinely excited about that. And it's fine. I played it from beginning to end, not because I felt obliged to, because I was enjoying myself enough. But,
what did you play it on?
I play it on PS4.
Okay.
And it will look the same on anything. It's not a particularly slick looking game, but it's okay. I like shooters. I like this just about enough.
All right then. My number one then is Titanfall again. So sorry about that, but it is. So just fucking deal with it. Titanfall. I've done the thing where you regenerate, which is the same as prestiging, which is it kind of gave the game a new lease of life. I know you've been doing this crazy achievement where you're trying to get all challenges on different weapons, and you basically ruined the game for yourself. But going back to the beginning again, it does a clever thing where it makes your XP gain a bit quicker, and I think every time you regenerate, it does that. And some of the regenerations later on, you have to do specific challenges and stuff. And it's just kind of, we're talking about, these are small details that are they're only unique to this genre. What's the word? They only become bigger when you've played a lot of games in this genre and they do the same things. But so this one does things ever so slightly differently to Call of Duty and Battlefield. But in the grand scheme of things, it's basically the same shit. But I kind of like the way it's handled here. And obviously the game's amazing. It's getting better and better. I'm finding more lines across the maps for the free running. I think the maps are just amazingly well designed. And I was listening to Dave talk about it in the last podcast when Dave was on. Thank you very much for Dave being on, as always. And he was complaining about, not complaining, that's unfair. He was saying about he felt like he'd seen everything that there was to see in the game. And while I understand what he's saying, I definitely understand the words. So I don't want to do that thing where people willfully misinterpret people. Absolutely understand what Dave's saying. I think I'm definitely on the same page as you. Is those things that you've seen to me are just a framework, and what you can never see. You could never have enough of seeing is what happens in every single match, because it's sort of one of those games that just conjures up moments. And maybe they're not quite as outstanding as the moments that happen in a battlefield, which involve buildings crashing down and all these vehicles combining and all that sort of stuff. But I feel way more in control of these moments in Titanfall. I feel like I am the one creating most of these moments rather than them happening around me. And that might just be because I'm a bit better at Titanfall than I am at Battlefield or not. But I definitely don't feel like I've seen everything in the game. Yeah, I like a few more modes just to spruce things up, and I'm definitely interested to see what the new maps are. But if the game was still just what it is here, this framework, and these types of ways to play and these maps, I would still be playing it for a long time. It's already held my interest more than any shooter since the first Black Ops, and then before that, Halo. Probably Halo 3, Halo 2. So, yeah, it's doing a lot right in that respect. And, yeah, I know that team isn't as big as... I mean, it's nowhere near as big as a lot of the teams. It's nowhere near as big as DICE or Infinity Ward or, fucking Treyarch or any of these people. I mean, it's like a fraction of the size. So they've pushed, as you said last week, put every single ounce of ability, sweat, time into making everything that's there as perfect as it can be, and all the other stuff can either wait or it's just not necessary. So that'll be enough about Titanfall until the new maps come out from me, but still just kind of constantly marveling at it. I'm now at the point where I'm saying I would be amazed if a game can come out this year that's going to topple this for my Game of the Year list. Obviously, there's plenty of time for it to come, and certainly the new stuff that's come out on Destiny looks fucking outstanding. But we shall see. But yeah, still going strong, mate. Still going strong. I know you are too, but you're quite rightly not talking about it, and I kind of apologise for being a bit weak, but I was on holiday until basically Tuesday, so a polls.
I don't have anything to add. I've played it this week. I've loved it. It's just I don't have nothing to add.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a game. For
realsies.
That is that. But okay, well that's it. Short episode done. That's that. Thank you very much for listening. The usual spiel: Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. There's stuff on YouTube. Check that out. And yeah, that's about it. We'll be back in some capacity next week. I think that's it.
I think that is it. Yeah, tweet us, fucking talk to us, bother us, watch us, listen to us, ignore us.
Yeah.
All right, laters.
Goodbyes.
Looks like you got sparks